Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Custom. So today we're going to do a work in progress video of creating sort of a water effect on this base for this original character I'm working on. And we're going to be using this AK Interactive Resin Water two-part epoxy resin stuff. Now, normally I would like to use the smooth on crystal clear stuff, but the problem with that stuff I've had in the past is it's really strong, it kind of messes up the paint, you need to have hot weather, you need to have like gloves, mask, and all that stuff on. So I think I can get away with doing this resin water and experiment with this. And we're not going to go crazy. We're not going to make a super thick wall about like that thick so you can see through the side. We're only going to be about 1/4 of an inch because I want to do a little bit extra for my client because they've been waiting before the lockdowns in the coop. And I'm trying to make it up to all the people that have been waiting so long for stuff. And I want to do a little bit extra on the space. So we have the resin water, which is really cool. Basically you can see it in the box and stuff here, and this kit is a little bit more manageable too than to get the smooth on stuff because, you know, inflation, everything's skyrocketing. So I was able to pick up a kit like this, and like I said, we're not going to go super thick with this, but you can, I guess, go fairly thick in layers. Then we have their water gel transparency, which could kind of create ripples on top of that. And then we have the water effects where you can kind of create like splashes, and that's kind of the goal. So you can see what we did is my friend met a John in Canada. He printed out this statue, and I kind of broke it up, and I added cracks to it and everything. So it's kind of like she's fighting a Kraken over like water or something, or an island, or I'm not really sure about the character too much. But we also printed out these Kraken tails. So they are removable as of right now. It was just easy to print, and she is removable too. But you can see I have a hole over here for this Kraken tail. And I just filled this up with some Magic Sculpt just to kind of make sure that when I pour in the resin, it doesn't kind of bubble up too much around it. Fairly simple base. We're not really going crazy, you know, making the base super elaborate and everything. We try to keep it down as much as possible, and we really wanted to focus on the character. Now, this right here is aluminum flashing, and what I'm going to do is, I got this at Home Depot. I'm going to cut like maybe like 1.5 inches off of this, or like 1 inch. I don't want this to be super thick going around this piece because it's very hard to manage it. But if you could kind of cut a basic wall thinner, it's easier to tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my flashing, and I'm going to tape it around the edge around here and create a wall, at least about 1/2 inch or 1 inch high. And then what we'll do is once I get that done, we'll mix up our resin water, because I'll have the tails in here because I want the tails to lock into place, because the tails are going to be parted because I want to create splashing around it. We'll pour in our resin, we'll let the resin go around the whole edge. Because I painted it blue and everything, that blue should kind of show through that clear resin a little bit easier and make it look a little bit better. And then once all that's done and that cures up, I'll pull off the wall, and then I can start using the gel effects, and we could kind of create splashing around the Kraken and stuff, and maybe around the edges, like water's kind of, you know, breaking up around there and stuff like that. So I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to not go as crazy with the smooth on stuff. I think this AK Interactive stuff will probably be pretty cool. And this could kind of open up some more opportunities down the line of doing some like water or ponds or puddles and stuff like that on these items. But I'm just going to go over the space one more time. I'm going to sort of start cutting up the wall. We're going to attach the wall and go from there. Like I said, the goal is not to see it from the edge like in that picture, to see it through the edge. The goal is to look downwards and make it look cool, because once I put it around the edge, it'll probably look messy. So I'm probably going to have to sand it down a little bit, maybe use some putty or something, and then airbrush it and make the base like fairly black around the edge. It's just that I want to look downwards, and I want to make it look cool looking down. You could really go crazy and elaborate by making like layers and make it look like a whole thing, and you know, and we're just not going that crazy. Stuff is getting very, very expensive, so we're already pretty much at the limit as it is. But I think this base will look pretty cool. So I just have to do some touch-ups on the figure. I have to finish her up because I want to make sure I can display her yet. And then once that's done, we'll come back. I should have the wall ready to go. We can start mixing up the resin water. We'll pour that down. I'll figure out how long it takes for it to cure, which probably I'll do something where I pour it in before I close up shop for the night, and I'll let it sit in here so this way I'm not in the studio breathing it in. And then the next day I can wake up, pull off the wall, and start doing all the gel effects. So this should be pretty interesting, and hopefully this opens up even more opportunities for bases down the line if I want to do just simple puddles and stuff like that. So let's get all finished up with the figure, and we'll come back and we'll start getting this wall set up. Okay, so I went ahead and I glued in the tentacles, so they're in there now, and then I built my wall. So you can see how I built the wall around here. It will be a little bit messed up at the back here, but that's okay. What's going to happen is it's going to bleed around the edges because this is not a super flat surface. It's kind of rounded at the edges around it. So what's going to happen is a lot of this resin is going to kind of go in there. And what I'll do is I'll sand it down, buff it out, and then I'll do the edging and stuff and kind of clean that up a little bit later. I did smell this stuff. It does have a pretty much potent smell. Nothing crazy, but it's something I don't want to breathe in while I'm in the studio. So I'm going to put duct tape around this once just to kind of really reinforce this masking tape just to be on the safe side. And then tonight before I close up shop, I'll put it in the airbrush booth because that airbrush booth is leveled. And then what we'll do is we'll mix this up and we'll pour it in. Now I looked at the box. It's 2-to-1 ratio. So they do give you this stuff here. But I'm not going to sit there and kind of squeeze out this and put it in the cup, squeeze this out. Because I want to use maybe about half the bottle. I think would probably fill this in pretty good. This way, I want to fill in to make sure it doesn't fill in the back there. So I do have some mixing cups and stuff, so I will find a way to mix this 2-to-1, and then mix it up. Because it says in the box, it doesn't matter how much hardener you put in there, it's still going to take 24 hours to cure. So, at least if I could do it tonight, I can let it cure up, and it'll probably be a gel tomorrow. It probably will be hardened up by the time I wake up and get in the studio, so I can actually pull it off the airbrush booth, and I can like set it aside, or I could put it in the garage if it's a sunny day, and just kind of get it out of the way. But I just want to do it where I'm not breathing in any fumes, and I want to get this rolling and get it done. But other than that, we should be pretty good. So it's pretty much a little bit after lunchtime now. I'll probably come back around like 8, 9 o'clock tonight. I'll we'll set this up, we'll pour it, and we'll be ready to go by tomorrow night, pull it apart, and start doing all the splashing. Okay, it is the next day. I decided not to do it last night because I didn't like the fumes too much. I really wanted to let this sit outside in the garage. So it actually is later in the afternoon the next day. Sun's out, everything dried up, so it's kind of better to do it now. And I don't have to mess with these fumes too much. So I do have this mixing cup where there's a 2-to-1 ratio chart right here. So I'm going to follow the chart and mix it up. I think if I follow the chart up to the bottom one, this much down here, that should probably be enough to mix it up. If I feel that it needs to be a little bit more, I'll fill in a little bit more, but it'll give me a better idea as I do this. See, because if I go to the 2 up to here and I go up to there, and if I mix about that much in here, that might be way too much what I'm going for. Because don't forget I have the other water effect gels and stuff. So I'm going to just mix up to the 2. So I'm just going to mix up to put in there and then put the rest in there, mix it up, and that should be just enough to pour. If I feel I need to mix up more, I can, but I could always do another layer too, actually. You can let this sit up for 24 hours and then you can do another layer if you need to, but I don't think I'll need to do that. It'll give me a good idea once I start pouring this bottle into here, and if I see that filling up to that number 1 mark there is enough, then I'll stop. But if I think I need to go up to the 2, I'll go up to the 2. It'll give me about, I'm thinking I would need to use about at least half this bottle for what I'm trying to do here. So I might have to go up for more. So I'll start mixing that up. I'll pour it in fast, and then we'll see what we come back the next day and how it all looks. It should work out pretty well. At least now I won't have to worry about the fumes in the house. Alright, so we are at the 21-hour mark. So I'm definitely think it's time we can actually demold this. Touching it, it looks like it cured up pretty well. And one of the other cool things I'm noticing is it didn't seem to react to any of the paint like the Smooth On did. And I know I keep comparing it to Smooth On's crystal clear stuff, but for me, I'm always just trying new things. So I guess what I'm going to do is just kind of cut it out, and we're going to demold it, and I'm going to definitely let it cure up before I do any other stuff to it, but I just want to double check, get this off. Hopefully this doesn't like start. Wow, you know, pretty cool. Just want to touch the sides. Really? Yeah, so I just need to actually just sand the side a little bit, kind of clean it up, and then go from there. So let's kind of lift this up so you can kind of see how it worked. I like it. Looks really, really good. Yeah, so this side over here got a little bit messy. That's not a problem. Over here you can see it kind of went down. But what I'll do is I'll probably sand it down a little bit, not up there too much. I'll probably have to kind of at least trim this side a little bit, and then what I can do is hit this with some paint and sort of blend it a little bit, make it a little bit cloudier. Yeah, no bubbling really. No paint seems to be like, you know, ripping up and pulling up or anything. Yeah, really, really good. I'm really, really impressed with it. So what I'll do is when I get a chance, I'll go in the garage. Once this cures, I'm going to give this like maybe a day or two, just to really, really cure up. I'm going to go in the garage, I'm going to touch this stuff up, cut off some of this edging here, and then we're going to start doing the water effects. And then hopefully after that, it should come together pretty well. So it's been about a few days. I'm going to get back onto this and finish this up. So what I did is I sanded around here just to even this out, and then I buffed it out and cleaned it up with some alcohol. So the edges are looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'll paint the edge later. What I'll do is I'll go back to black, and then I'll kind of go up with a little bluish green up to around here and try to blend it out, because the seam is not perfect over here. What I mean is like the blue going to the black and then the primer. So like I said, I'm not really trying to make it super clear at the bottom. I want to kind of blend it up. But anyway, so we have water gel effects and we have transparent gel. So the transparent gel is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the transparent gel around on the top, and I'm going to create waves. Just hit it with my brush, hit it with an airbrush, and kind of just go from there. And just give it like waves and not make it completely static and perfect. We want to make it, you know, like waves coming around here, like little ripples. Waves around here in the edges. And then once that sort of cures up a little bit, maybe by later today, or even if things start to kind of gel up and cure, we have the water gel effects, which I'll do is I'll throw it on the edges of everything and hit it with an airbrush or whatever and make it look like splashes. And I might have to do a couple layers of this to really kind of splash it up. So we want to make this a little bit more active than just settle perfect little pond, and that's what we're going to do. Once this stuff cures up though, this stuff will be semi-transparent, you know, it'll kind of create that. And even if it doesn't do that perfectly, I could go in there with the white paintbrush and sort of hit the top of it to give it that foam up top. But this stuff right here will give me all this kind of rippling and stuff, so to make this all do that. So I'm going to make sure everything is still fresh and good. This one, kind of say, yeah, it looks like Elmer's glue basically, but it's got a little bit more different properties in it. This one I think has a little bit of like tiny beads in there, like little clear beads in this one. That's why it gives it that, like, you know, wave and ripple, like splashing effect, and it doesn't cure clear. This one is clear as you know, like gives it all that clearness and stuff. So this one works out pretty well. So yeah, it's basically just going to kick on some music and just sit here, and it's just tedious work of throwing it all over the place, letting it kind of just like dry up today, and then do this, and then we're pretty much done with all the paint up afterwards. Alright, so I did the first layer yesterday, and it's the next day, and you can see what it does is it kind of ripples up all the water, and it makes it like a little bit more movement. Now all the stuff that I did around these edges here, it's still kind of curing in some areas, and then it cures very, very like light in some areas. So I'm going to do another layer on top of this, try to really build it up then try to do another layer and really build that up. And then I'll go in there with some white paint and I'll kind of like, you know, hit the little areas and do some dry brushing or a little water brushing type stuff. And sort of kind of make it a little bit foamy around certain areas. Sometimes this stuff will cure and it'll stay a little bit white, but not all the time. So you got to go in there and you got to play with it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the, yeah, we're going to grab the water gel effects. And I'm going to try to do a little bit more layering on top of here and really build this up. I really want to make it more like, you know, like it's coming through and all that stuff. And then after that's done, I could go ahead and start doing this sides and it should be finished up. So it is about 2 days later, and I went really heavy around here because I really want to create that foam. Like it's really like splashing all over the place. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to grab some white paint and do some highlights around these edges. Kind of hit it with the brush and kind of create foam around the areas, make this a little bit brighter and certain stuff. Now this stuff is still semi-soft, so it's still probably going to kind of cure over time. But I really like the way it is. It really kind of gives a little bit more motion and it's not just clear and stuff like that. So like I said, this will kind of clear up over time a little bit more once it's, you know, cures up. So if I add some highlights now, it'll kind of work. And then after that, I do that, I'm going to go into the airbrush, do these sides, and then it should be pretty much done. So let me get this finished up. Alright, so I am all finished up. I put the figure on it because I had to attach the cape and everything, but I just wanted to pretty much get the base finished. So you can see what I did is I blended this out. I did a black shade up to about there, and then I had this aqua blue paint that I pushed around there, and I kind of hit it all. And then from there, what I did is I used duplicate color clear coat and I cleared it. And then while it was still a little bit tacky, what I did is I went on there with some Vallejo satin varnish and I hit that there. So I didn't want this to be super shiny. I just wanted to give it a nice coat. So it got a little bit of a mirror look to it, but nothing too crazy. But you can see how all this worked out. I really like how all this is kind of like giving it like a, you know, water hitting a little island. You can see this is kind of really rough because the tentacles are going against the water, so you have all that there. But like I said, over time this may clear up a little bit more because it still is a little bit soft in there, so it probably will take a long time since I threw it on there. But with all these white highlights on here, it just creates more of a motion and it creates more of a roughness, and I really, really like that. But I know a lot of the water is kind of hidden, that clear water around there, but that's not what I was going for. I didn't want it super clear. I wanted it, like, you know, to give it an idea that it is water and she is kind of stepping over an island with a broken, you know, thing, fighting a Kraken. But I think it works out pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cure up. I'm going to go over it one more time, and then I'll probably have my final video up of the character as well, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more information too in that video. Like I said, this is an original character, but I really like the idea of being able to do this type of stuff with a bases. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of extra steps, but it could come out really cool if you want to do something a little bit more fun with your characters. I mean, even if you wanted an X-Men character or a DC character stepping over water, you don't have to go crazy and make this super elaborate base. You can have something very simple like this with the little things, add a little bit of water with the clear AK interactive stuff, and create some kind of emotion and something simple and not take up about, you know, 1/4 of your TV room with a crazy elaborate base. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you like the way it turned out? Do you like the idea of using clear water for bases like this? I know this is a lot of fun, and I might do some personal stuff for myself down the line now. But with that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.